Hey everyone, happy Thursday. Welcome to my studio. I'm Christine Marks and today I'm going to be painting pale pink roses. My beautiful mom is turning 79 tomorrow and we are taking her to Spring Lake to celebrate her birthday, and so I wanted to make a card. I'm going to show you how to make these roses. They're very simple. They're a little frustrating at first, but they get easier the more you practice. Thank you so much for joining me. Come on, let's go. So here's a quick little glimpse of my rose arbor. This is on the farm and I planted these 5 years ago. They are at their peak right now and I just love all the pink petals that are underneath it, and these are just the most beautiful fragrant roses. So that's it. These are our models for today. All right, so I told you this was going to be easy, and it is. I am not taping my paper down because I like to be able to twist this around when I'm working on my roses. So we're gonna take and mix up some, I've got Daniel Smith quinacridone rose and transparent gold deep. And the reason I like to use the transparent when I'm mixing roses is it helps keep that luminosity. I prefer the transparent or translucent colors when I'm doing this. So we're gonna mix up a real watery puddle, and then in the middle you start with, I mean, you've seen the center of a rose. You can do it a couple of different ways. You can just kind of go like this, do a few little half circles, and then I find the mistake that I make often with roses is I don't think I do enough little interior petals, especially these little David Austin roses. So you take your brush and you're just doing these C strokes, and you're leaving a little bit of white space, but not a ton of white space. There's a real fine line. You can do too much white space and too little white space. So it's just a matter of practicing. So I'm gonna keep flipping it around, and the OCD in me wants me to turn it the other way. You can do a single C stroke. You can come back like this. And I like to kind of fluffy them out a little bit. Okay, so here we go. Now I'm gonna get bigger and push down with my brush, come around like this. This is even a little dark for my liking. We'll do it again. I think I started this one off too dark. And you don't want it to end exactly where the other ones, I think of it like, you know, when you do brick pattern, and you know, you kind of want to offset that little meeting of the petals with this, and I'll go back through after I get my little C stroke in and kind of flutter it out. Even lighten these up a little bit more. We're gonna do one more, I think, and you can make these roses as big or as small as you want. Now we're gonna come back in and mix a little more. Rinse my brush, get a little more of this. Now when you come back in to dot the middle, like I said, this one's darker than I would like. I'm going to do a lighter one next. You get the water out of your brush and then come in with more pigment and less water. And you go along the insides of these C curves. See how that spreads out? So I'm using a very tiny brush. I had a bigger brush. You can use a bigger brush if you want bigger roses, but look how nicely you can dot it, or you can run a little line. I find dotting it is a little bit better than running a line across there. There we go. And that, now I feel like it's a little not the way I'd like, so you can come back in and I don't want it too wet. You can add a few little, now warning, when you start doing this, it's gonna drive you crazy and your rose could end up so enormous. See, because then I'm like, oh, this side's not big enough. So I'm just gonna, there we go, boop, touch it in there. He's cute, and I like, you don't want a perfectly round rose. Now I'm gonna use my bigger one. I have a size 11, maybe I'll use my size 8. That was a size 4. Haven't used this one yet. So let's take this watery version. I'm gonna do a super light one because although it does, you can see it's drying lighter. And so I'm not unhappy with that. So now we're gonna do little circles in the middle. That's super wet. And that one was, you should start out with smaller C strokes in the beginning, and then they get bigger. And they're not even like really like, they don't have to be super curved because that looks funny too if you do. It's almost, there you go. You want them like, I'll equate it. Like when I get my nails done, I say I don't want them square, I don't want them round, I want them oval. So it's kind of like a cross between a C stroke and a straight line. You don't want to have these big circles with a lot of space in between them. And again, if you don't tape down, so now I'm gonna go into some bigger petals here. And again, I like odd shaped, if you look at roses, they're not, they have ruffles. I'm gonna come back with that one. And they're not, the exteriors have these beautiful, unique shapes. That one I would have liked to have been a little more, there you go. You can play around with them a little bit. You know, you're not stuck with, I do a nice big petal here, comes into here. So, you know, and I'll even mess around with it there a little bit. Okay, now I'm gonna do this one, not quite as, because this one more is hidden underneath the rose. You know, as you're getting out here, there are some that are hidden behind. And I'm gonna do one little one here. And I don't mind like playing around with it. It doesn't have to be, you know, mechanical C stroke. You still have some working time with it here. I'm gonna do a nice little hidden petal here to just kind of balance that on the one side. So that one's a little bit lighter. Now, I don't want to ruin it and come in with too much accent in here, but this will get very much more pale. And, you know, you can even alter, you can do little bits of just yellow. It doesn't have to be, you know, the pink and the yellow mixture. And that adds a nice, you know, you see roses that are yellow in the center and more pink towards the outside. So you just come in and nicely drop in your color that you initially painted with. And it actually, like when it does this, it looks like my roses. You get these beautiful little bursts of color in your roses. Veiny, you know, veiny bits of color running through there. So you don't want to let it dry too much before you get in there if you want that to burst out like that. And I'm even gonna go in, let's see, I'm very bad about washing my brush in between. I'm gonna go in with even, let me see if that's, add a little water. And a little more of the quinacridone gold in the middle so that it's, I don't know what variety that is. And I'm gonna come around with a little bit more. I want this to be a little, not much darker. You know, it's so pretty to have these subtle color changes. There we go. And you don't have to do it everywhere. Pick and choose. But you want it to be in this part of the petal that's under. And now see, sometimes I come back through, and if I feel like there's too much white space, you can bring some of this in a little bit. I wouldn't recommend alleviating all of it, but sometimes, you know, you can tap and touch these little spots where maybe you want a little more. There you go. There. So that is like a peachy, pinky rose. And then the leaves are actually, I had started with an olive green. I wasn't really happy with, it's a pretty color. It's very pretty. So I added another green that I can't find. Here it is. Winsor Newton Permanent Sap Green to kind of, yeah, there we go. Make it a little bit more like the color of a rose leaf. And I almost always will knock it back. It's a little too bright when it's in its pure state. And these brushes are great. It's kind of in the way of where I would have naturally put like a leaf coming out of here. And put your brush down. Probably needed it a little more wet. And around here. So these, I'll show you again. This is a nice number 8 round. And a lot of times they'll have these leaves that kind of show back here. So you just push the point in here, push down and back up to a point, and then you come back in with some deeper color in here. That's really too wet. I mean, it's gonna dry in this kind of modelly, funky way, but let's see, I'm gonna put some olive green down here. It's the time where you want to throw in your color and let it do some fun. It'll make pretty, fun designs. Now, I touched that to the rose. You don't want to do that while it's still wet. I also like to do the way that my rose bush looks, which is, okay, I take a nice thin line and come like this, and then they've got one rose here. I mean, I know this because I'm always looking for, when I'm pruning them, the stems that have 5 leaves, those are where you want to prune your rose bush, not one that has 7, because you won't get a new flower out of it. I mean, that's what I always learned. If you have something different to say, drop it in the comments, because I'm always about getting educated about roses. So I prefer this a little more to this coming out behind the rose. I guess it just depends on what you're doing. And I kind of pull this through, and let's see, a little bit more. A little more color in there. And then I do go a little bit darker on the stem. Now this one, I don't like what this has done here. So you wash your brush, dry it, and then just tap it to kind of move the paint. You know, sometimes that's probably operator error, that's me. It doesn't always move the way you want it to. Let me see, tap this out a little so that it, there, so I like that actually. Let me see, do I want to put any olive? Sometimes I'll drop another color in there. And when you do this, you want it to be mostly pigment and very little water. So I wash my brush, dry my brush, and then, because if you drop water in there, it's gonna just send everything everywhere. Here, a little bit more. I try to go very light because it's hard to undo. I mean, you can lift and stuff, but I want it to be a nice, you know, nice gradation here. So these are fun. These 5-leaf rose stems, they're all over my rose bushes. And this is coming out really nicely. Now you can go in again and do more, you know, more definitive dark lines in there. I kind of like when I'm painting them to leave it like this. Although here, if you start out darker, this ended up being a very nice rose, I think, without me going in and doing anything else to it. So these are my roses, and I hope you like them. If you give them a try, join me over at Creating with Christine Marks at Facebook. And we have a nice, very small group of ladies right now that are sharing artwork that they do, and it's a lot of fun. So thank you for joining me, and have a wonderful, wonderful day.